This video might be a little discombobulated, which is going to be a little all over the place, but I'm going to title it "Engine Restore Additive in a Harley Davidson?" Question mark. Now, just to give you a little history on this, I had this bike forever, right? I don't know if I was there consider myself a biker or whatever. I was into motor. I was into bicycles. That's how I got into this. I was on a bicycle like all day, ride 100 something miles, even put 150 miles on in a day, and like two wheels and got this, and I got this back in 89, right? And I got the other bike I think I had on there, the 91, both chain drives. This is the 4-speed, the other one's a 5-speed. Now, this thing was rebuilt a couple times, had a long time, and I don't know how many years it's been like this. I don't know if it was like this when it was first rebuilt or whatever it was. It's got some valve train top end noise, right? So I used the AMSOIL. I got 1560 in there with some 60 weight mixture. Through because I'm in Florida, right? So it's hot. So I don't run straight 60, but with 1560 with 60 weight, quiets it down a little bit. It mainly makes more noise. I don't think it's a problem, right? But it makes a little more noise when it's hot, which I think that's pretty typical. Now, I heard all this stuff, from way back, like don't ever use synthetic oil in your Harley. They tell you that stuff way back. Only use Harley Davidson oil, and that all changed. What I want to say is certain additives, I found out are good. Some people tell you never to use them. I found out this stuff is good, and this stuff is good for old engines. I would not use this stuff or any of these additives if you're like running a bike really, really, really hard. Not saying like, if you're giving it like 75, 80% once in a while, but I mean, you're just going all out. I wouldn't be playing around with any of these additives. But I found like I got some cars that got like 250,000 plus on them. I got the 99 Sebring with 267,000 runs. Perfect. It's got this stuff in it. It does improve it. I got that little Jeep 85 Suzuki Jeep thing. It's got like 250,000. I got the 78 El Camino. I don't know how many miles on it, but I had it since August of 1991. It was a used engine back then. The only thing I put in there was a cam and stuff, right? So I put this in here about a year and a half ago, and I said, I don't want to do that because it might screw something up. But I've never had a problem with this. I would not use this in a new car that's got that variable timing. And there's a reason I got this here, because I'm going to talk about that too, because that's for me. That's my additive, okay? But this stuff does some weird stuff. Like if you got some wear, and now when I'm riding around, I don't have this is like a real plain ass Sportster. It's kind of got big bags on it. I keep my 2 containers of drinks in here because I'll go. I don't really drive. I don't really ride more than 300 miles. Which could be 7 hours of riding sometimes with the traffic and all that. So usually it's like a turn and burn type thing. I'll go up to Jacksonville or Daytona and ride around down Tampa or something, or just up in the northern and central Florida roadways, country roadways. There's a lot going on in Florida, right? But I decided to put this stuff in there, and I tried this too. It did get a little quieter with this, and this, it got more quieter. So I'm going to keep using it. I don't know if it's a smart thing to do, but we're going to find out. But I have been using this for several years in cars. Now, I know people say, well, what about just fixing the parts? Well, it could just be that there's aftermarket stuff in there. And I heard like if you got like aftermarket cams, which, it could be a little looser. It's got different valves in there. It's got, it's different stuff. So I changed last year or so. I changed out, put the fueling lifters in there. And I put the S&S rods. I did RevTech rods. I put the S&S chromoly rods in there. And I put the rocker lockers up on the top end. Didn't do nothing. So S&S says the stock way to put them at is 4 turns. And I don't want to, if you know what I'm talking about, it's 4 turns tightness. that puts the plunger and the lifter right smack in the middle. I think 100 thousandths or something down into the lifter, so it's right smack in the middle. It says you can go up to 4.5 turns. So I readjusted them at 4 1/3. Same thing. Now, this noise comes on where it's probably normal. I mean, I know there's a lot of bikes that have this, but I don't feel like working on this thing. I mean, I got burned out years ago from working on it because I used to ride it really hard and keep breaking stuff. And I just like, I'll jump on it, but I don't like race it. Like if you could jump on it 75%, if you're not going like all out power shifting, you're not going to break nothing. It's like when you're really doing like quarter miles or something really hard, that's when stuff gets worn out fast. So I don't do that. I wouldn't recommend putting this stuff in there if you're really, really running hard. But just cruising around, jumping on once in a while, this thing did make a difference. It's subtle difference, but when I ride around, I don't have any earbuds or nothing. I just hear the motor. And I can tell you it did do something. And I've noticed it works great on cars, lawnmowers and stuff. I don't think this is going to have a problem with this bike. But then I started thinking, this might be a great thing for the twin cams. Because you know how they got that, the chain, and they got like, the 88 has like the spring tensioner, and then they got the hydraulic tensioners. Maybe I'm talking gobbledygook. But if you know what I'm talking about, they got the shoe that rubs on the chain. Something like this might make those shoes last longer, because that's in a situation where it's like, it's not like pressurized oil. It's like, it's rubbing. It's rubbing. And this is kind of like something where it comes into play, where something's actually rubbing. So this is not a twin cam, obviously, but I mean, it's like if you had a twin cam, I think this would probably be a pretty good additive. And I don't know. But I never heard of anybody putting this crap in I don't want to call it crap. It's like, I never heard of anybody throwing it in their bike, And they say you never put this in with the transmission, a wet clutch. This they say you can put in with the wet clutch, according to their site, the website. I actually threw it in the transmission a little bit at a half strength. Now, I'm going to give you a little history on that. I found way back when Harley was selling the Sportster Translube, it had some other stuff. It was like conventional oil. I used to put some, was it Duralube automatic transmission fluid additive, Duralube, just a little bit of it, and like maybe an ounce or two in the transmission. And I always found I could find neutral way easier with that junk. Now, I don't use that stuff. I don't use the Duralube anymore in the transmission. I put just a little additive, right? I'm using Bel Ray. I just use Bel Ray, but I put a little bit of this in there now, because I know this stuff is good. And you can use that in the trans, even with the wet clutch. Not too much of it, though. I didn't notice any slippage. Now, when I'm talking about this wet clutch, I said this could be a little discombobulated. Now, I got, on my clutch, I got the heavy-duty spring. Now, back when I was an idiot, I used to kind of burn up the clutches a lot. And they had the Barnett clutches. And I used to, I found out that the cheaper way was actually, I wouldn't have to change the whole clutch pack. I'd change out whatever ones were worn out. But I found out the thing that kept it from slipping the most was you put the heavy duty spring in there. But when you have the heavy duty spring, that lever is harder to pull. So I put that little leather thing on there so my hand don't slip off it. And it is, the other bike I got is my backup, quote unquote, backup bike, the little 883 to 91 year. It's in 883, right? So that one, I could tell the clutch is way, way, way lighter. And, but even with this heavier clutch spring, I just figured to throw that in there. I should have made a separate video on that, but I just want to throw this, because I'm not really working on this YouTube too much. I just figured I'd throw this out there for this. I'll put this in my bike, and it is a little quieter. Now, I don't know if it's got wear that's doing that or what. I could look down it with the borescope. I don't want to, tell you the truth. I don't think it's like any kind of piston slap or anything, because that would be more pronounced when it's cold. It sounds like just top end, like the valves or something with the valve train, when it warms up. It's probably normal. But it did get a little quieter with this. But this thing might be getting a little tired, possibly. You know, it's got some freaking miles on it now, and I don't feel like, I just wanted to extend the life of it. And I found like my other old cars and stuff, I've been using this for some years, and they're just going and going and going and going and going. And I threw it in the bike, and I says, you know, for my ear, I could tell it seems okay, man. It just seems a little better. And I'm like, I didn't put too much of it in here. I think like 2 ounces. That's it. But after I put like 1,000 miles on it, it seemed to be a little smoother. A little, you know, maybe I'm being a little finicky, but whatever. I did it. Now, I want to mention this because, you know, YT don't let me do any of my health videos anymore, but then they say I'm not a doctor or something, but I try to be like Ponce de Leon, looking for the fountain of youth, kind of looking for the fountain of youth for my bike, you know. But this, that's something else I take for me. 10 different special mushrooms. Put them in there with the eggs and the spinach and stuff. Eat that every day. And keeps me going. But there's a lot of things. Well, writing is addictive. I can tell you that right now. But there's a lot of things you could do sometimes. And I swear to God, I know, like, I heard this stuff a long time ago. I can't even say that. C-R-A-P. You can't even say that, right? But I heard this stuff a long time ago about, you know, don't put in these additives, only use Harley oil, and all, you know, whatever. I found out sometimes these additives are good. Like, I just want to mention too, I use, I got the chain on this bike, and I got that 5-speed 91 883. That's the only 5-speed Sportster that came with a chain. I personally like chains, okay? I don't know why, because I don't know, like anything. I don't know, I'm just set in my ways. But I use fluid film, the stuff they use for preventing rust on cars, you know, on the undercarriage. It's a great lubricant for the chain. And I use it up on the pivot points in the clutch cable and stuff like that. Never had a cable go, and use that on the throttle cables and stuff too, so whatever. But I've been using this. And I didn't notice much of a difference till about 1,000 miles I put on it. So, but you know, I figured I'd put this out because I know they fixed the problem pretty much with the twin cams, but those shoes, that's something you got to watch. And you also got to watch, what do you call it? The lifters on the Evo motors with the angle. They wear out faster. Like the Sportster doesn't have that problem, you know, because they're straight up and down. They don't have like the extreme angle where the lifters wear out. But I figure something like this, where you're getting some rubbing, like, you know, the lifter angle on the Evo. I mean, that's really old stuff now. That might keep them lifters, like those little bearings inside where the wheel is, they might keep them good a little longer, you know, because this works. What do you call that? When the oil pressure's got like hydrostatic and you're only using a oil film, it doesn't do it. But when you're actually, you need like almost like a grease barrier. This is kind of like, it works good on those tests where you use the bearing and the weight of the bearing, and it puts the scar on there. Well, that's kind of like what happens with the shoes on those chains they have in the twin cam. I bet you this would make those shoes last longer. I just never saw anybody freaking try this. Now, I kind of look at some of the videos. I think it was Death Proof, what this guy's name was. Just want to throw this in here, that if you're ever changing out those shoes for those on a twin cam, he put the ones that are by Psycho. Now, it's not spelled P-S-Y-C-H. It's like spelled like cycle. Psycho, C-Y-C-O or something like that. And he showed that in 15,000 miles, the stock Harley one was like half worn down, and the one by Psycho was like brand new. So, and that was on an 88-inch spring tensioned twin cam. You know, Um, but I also think that something like this would keep those shoes lasting longer. And I don't know. I don't know. Just I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I just did, like I said, I tried this about a year and a half ago, and I said, nah, I don't want to do that because I was worried about it's going to hurt something. So I changed the oil again. I put some AMS oil in there. But then when I changed the lifters and this push rods, readjusted and put the rocker locker things in there. It was exactly the same. And it's actually been like that for years, But I'm like, I don't, seems to run really good. And sometimes you shouldn't mess with something that's running good, but I did it. I put that in there. But like I said, I've been using it on the cars, and I just never heard anybody using it on a Harley. I started people using it on bikes. You don't want to put this in the transmission. This, they say, the motor coat, you could put like a less concentration, like half the concentration in the transmission. I haven't noticed any problem with that either, but I'm trying to just extend the life out of this thing as much as possible because I don't feel like fixing nothing. I just ride it around. Now, this is just an old Sportster, but I don't have a problem. Like, well, let me say this. I'll ride maybe a max of 300 miles, and that pretty much that's probably about 7 hours riding. So it's like I'll go up someplace, ride around, go down there, go to some place, and go, and that's it. I don't have a problem. But most people actually 100 miles on a Sportster kills them, or even 200 miles. But I have no problem. I mean, I can go way more than 300 miles, but I just don't ever go out of state or nothing. So, but this bike works just fine for me. It's got the bigger gas tank on it too. So that was the first thing I did when I freaking got this damn thing. But um, I'll give you an update later. See if if things cool with it. See what happens. Um, don't know. Like I said, I was resisting doing this because I was looking and searching on the internet. Did anybody actually ever freaking put this crap in a Harley, stuff in a Harley? No, I never seen anybody talk about it, do it, or nobody. I heard about people putting in, like I mean, back in the day, it used to be STP. What's that stuff they call now? It's sort of like STP. It's real thick oil. Um, That's just stupid stuff. I mean, to me, I wouldn't put that. I mean, if you want to put thicker oil, just so I put a little AMS oil 60 weight in with the 1560 to thicken it up because it's it's like the lowest temperature you get around here is even at night might be 75. By the time you go to start this bike up, I mean, I can run straight 60 in this thing in the summertime. By the time I go to start it up, it's well over 80 degrees. So I'm running this, see what happens. But I want to point out, bike's one thing. This is me. This is for me. 10 different types of mushrooms. Old Chinese stuff. Thousands of years of proven soothsayers say this makes you live longer. So I'm doing that. YT don't let you say that because, the doctor and stuff. But I'm doing that. I'm doing that too. So this is for my engine. This is for me. And, you know, and honestly, to me, this is like, I don't really care. Well, this bike I like. I don't know. I'm just used to it. It's like part of me. I've had it for 8 million years. Like the backup bike I got in case this one goes down is very similar to this, except it's a 5-speed. And I'm surprised. I want to mention this. The little 883 is not a bad bike. If you actually put the good air filter intake on it, and you tune the carburetor, right? You put the right stuff, and I went to CB Performance, and you use the slip-on, a good quality slip-on mufflers. That thing does okay, man. It's got pretty good power. I mean, you don't worry about all these stupid numbers because, way back, none of these bikes were that fast. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they were not that fast. Actually, this bike now, with the stuff that's in it, this bike back in the early 90s was pretty quick for that time period. Now, I'd say with the weight of the lighter weight of the Sportster and what's in it, you know, it's got the Baisley valves, the Andrix cam, and S&S rods and crap, whatever, head, little bit of headwork. It's about power to weight ratio. It's probably about as fast as an M8 Softail, a new one, without modifications. It's like, you know, it's about average of a new one, you know. So that's okay, but it's a lot more simple. Doesn't have all this electronic crap on it, you know. So it's kind of like a Sportster Tour. It's got a little windshield on it, stuff like that, big bags and stuff. But anyway, but I'm not really into the biker stuff that much. But I got it, like I said, I got into this from bicycles. You know, you can put me on a mountain bike and I can be riding on the road for, you know, I just love ride. I just like riding two wheels, so that's what the hell it is. But I'll give you an update on this probably in about 6 months. We'll see how this works out. But for now, after putting about 1,000 miles on putting this additive in here, it seemed like really cool. It seems like it's good. Now, if something goes wrong serious, was it because of this? I don't think so. I think the main problem is with this stuff is if you have like a car with the variable timing and you got to use like 0-30 oil, real thin oil, I would not use this stuff. This is like an older tech stuff. You know, it's like, it's not going to have these crazy, super tight tier clearances all over the place. This would not be something you want to use, like if you're really like doing a quarter miles and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to offer good protection on your engine. For cruising around though, I think it's pretty good. And maybe, you know, jumping on it once in a while. But I'm trying to just extend the life of this thing as much as possible, as cheap as possible, because it's a pain in the ass, excuse me, when you're working on something. It's just like, that's why I got the other bike, you know, in case this one ever have to take the engine out and take it someplace and have them do the flywheels. I mean, I could do the top end. I mean, I can't do the flywheels. And right now, people that work on the bikes like to do like the main internals and stuff, like not the top end. The top end I can do. Like if you had to do the flywheel, there's like way less machine shops around from like 30 years ago. So, and I don't know who's BS artist and not. And I'm like, I just want, you know, I just want this thing to go another 50,000 miles or more without any problems. And except for anything minor or something. And, you know, make it live. But for now, seems okay. Seems okay. And I'll give you an update on this, but I would not be afraid to use this. Just a couple ounces. Just a couple ounces. And I think the twin cams, I mean, I never saw anything. I never seen any people use it, but I've never seen any reason why not to use this. And like I said, it's not for like race purposes or something like that, where you put something in there to give it some, you know, high performance advantage. That's not what this is for. But it does, and I know this works on my older, well, my older stuff, like my 85 4x4, my 99 Sebring convertible with the freaking 267,000 miles on it. The 78 El Camino, I don't know how many miles are on that. The only thing I ever put in that was the cam and the carburetor and the intake and stuff a few years, 5 years ago. It's got the same motor from, I don't know when, just a little 305, but it definitely, I put two cans in, two of these in that damn thing. It runs perfect. It runs perfect. So we shall see. I just figured I'd mention it, but I swear to God, I mean, I wish more people, well, they probably can run some kind of test with those shoes rubbing on the chain. Like I know the hydraulic ones got it pretty much figured out, but still you got to freaking change them every once in a while. I mean, I could do stuff, but I don't really feel like it, you know. So the longer I get it to run without, you know, with any major problems, the better. And that's the same reason I'm taking this 10-to-1 formula with mega mushrooms, man. See all the stuff they got in here. Reishi mushroom, turkey tail, shiitake, uh, cordyceps, right? You know, this works too. Because, I personally want to make sure I stay good too. I forgot to mention, I'm 70 years old, right? So if I'm riding this thing because I took mega mushrooms and I'm 80 years old and I'm still riding this, or I'm 85 or I'm 90 and I'm still riding this, you know, engine restore and mega mushrooms, right? We'll find out. I'll probably outlast YouTube by a number of years.